Hey, welcome back everyone to another video. So this week it was blazingly hot in Europe. We had temperatures of 38 degrees here in the Netherlands, which is just absurd for our country. And every summer it happens, it gets really hot and it really drags down my motivation. It's nice weather outside, you just want to go outside, enjoy the weather. And the worst thing is I have no AC, so it's so hot in my room. It's on the third floor of the house. It's just insane. So there were a few days this week that I could just not get any work done. It was just way too hot. But fortunately I did get some things done. So I've been having an ongoing battle with the serializer, which serializes all the in-game data to a file which you can then load up every time you start the game. Hopefully I'm finally done with it. I fixed some things with nested objects that were nested into each other that were not loading correctly. But that's all taken care of, and I took advantage of it to make the game a bit prettier. As you can see, there are these clouds in the background. There's this big layer of clouds all the way in the back. And then there are some other clouds, like this white one up here, and this a bit more opaque one in the back. You can see they all move at different speeds to kind of give the illusion of depth, to give it some parallax. I think it looks really cool. It adds a lot of character to the world. It does look a little bit distracting when you're playing, especially the white clouds. It just really catches your eye. So maybe I should make them a bit more opaque, or kind of make it a bit less flashy. Like white is the most eye-catching color there is, so maybe I should just make them a bit more light bluish. But since I'm working with the NES palette, I only have 56 colors to choose from. So my choices for colors are kinda limited. So what do you guys think? So I'll show you how the parallax system actually works. So we can just select this cloud here, and then there is a parallax component here with a parallax vector, which kind of determines how much does it move. So if you put it on 1, it moves completely parallel to the camera, and if you make it lower, it moves along slower with the camera. So if we put it on, let's first just see how slowly it moves, so you guys can get an idea. So this is the rate at which it moves right now, and if we put it all the way on 0.6, then you can see it moves a lot faster, and it kind of gives it the idea that it's further in the background. So all these clouds have different values. This cloud has a lower value, just so it does feel like it's further in the background. So while I was already working on the serialization, I thought I'd do some other engine stuff, and that's tile collisions and object collisions as well. So right now, the way the collision detection works with the tiles is each tile that the player touches is being tested if it's solid. You can see all these squares, that's all the tiles that are being tested. And when it's solid, the player cannot pass. So when the player moves, it actually looks, is it going to move into a tile? And if it is, then we don't allow that movement and we place you back against the tile. And it works pretty well. I even managed to get it to work with slopes, even though there are still some issues with the slopes. But one of the problems that I'm having is when the player changes size, the collider changes size, then the tiles don't know how to resolve the collision. So in this game you can tuck and the collider becomes smaller. So you can see when we land, we get displaced, and that's because the collider changes size when you tuck, and then you land and you get reset to the original size, and then you kind of get stuck in the tile and the game doesn't know how to resolve the collision correctly. So instead of trying to fix that issue, I actually tried a whole new collision detection system. The same system that I also use for objects, which is the separated axis theorem collision. So as you guys can see, there's a whole lot of rectangles on the screen. So instead of testing each tile one by one, I actually merge all the tiles together into a rectangle. So yeah, if I let down the player, you're gonna see a whole lot of debug info. Just try to ignore that. But pretty much what it means is that all the axes are being tested for a collision. So now the player is being tested against this big rectangle here in this area, and it's just checking for an overlap, and it's pushing out the player on the smallest colliding axis, so whichever axis has the smallest collision, or it's usually called the minimum translation factor, I think. I'm not that good at math, so it took me a long time to get this system working, but it works quite well. There's still some problems with wall jumping and such, but yeah, it works pretty okay, and the collisions are being resolved in a much better way. As you can see, when I tuck, there's no strange displacement again. But it feels kind of inefficient to have all these rectangles in the game. Like, there's so many colliders everywhere. So there was yet another system that I was trying out for the collision detection. So the last collision detection system that I tried was sort of a combination. I don't put colliders all over in the scene, but I actually just make a collider for the tile that I'm going to touch. So I kind of detect the solid tiles, and I only create a collider for a short moment there to test the collision with. So you can see we're on the floor here, and as I detect that the character is gonna overlap these tiles, I create a collider for these tiles that it's colliding with, so it's just there momentarily. And it works pretty well. It's a lot less cluttered, I would say, as the other one where there's colliders all over the scene. And you can see it also works for horizontal collisions, even though there's still some things to be worked out there. I'm not yet done with this, but it already works quite well. And I sort of get the benefits of both the first collision detection method, where I check each tile individually, and the second one where I test with colliders. If we test the tuck again, you can see it's being resolved correctly. So yeah, it still needs some work. Wall jumping doesn't work well, as you can see. But yeah, I think it's a step in the right direction. I might even try another collision detection method while I'm already on it, but yeah, I want to get this done. I want to get it done correctly, because while I was working on the game, in the back of my head, I just keep thinking, oh, the collision detection system needs to be worked on someday. It's just not nice to have that nagging feeling in the back of your head. So another thing I did was experiment with some more music. As I said last week, I started trying to compose, so I've been just messing around with that. I haven't really completed a song or anything like that, but I just practiced a lot. I noticed that I'm quite okay at composing sad, slow music, but making more upbeat, fast music, I'm not as good as that, so I just practiced a lot with that. Didn't make complete songs, but just tried to make some melodies and see if I could work out what makes a good fast-paced beat. I'm not so good at drums or bass or anything like that. I only ever played the main melody on my ocarina and on my tin whistle. So yeah, that's the only thing I know. I don't know a lot about bass or drums, so that's something I need to practice. So here are some short examples of things I did. It doesn't sound very good, it's just all practice stuff, but yeah, maybe it's interesting to see the progress later on or something. I completely forgot to make an outro, so there's one last thing I'd like to say, which is Spiritsphere DX is still on sale on Steam and on itch.io. It's only $2.50 or €2 if you're in Europe. It's gonna be for sale for one more week, so this is your last chance to grab the game. I would really appreciate the support, and I think it's a pretty fun game to play with friends in the summer days. And for those of you who made it through my melodies that I composed, you are a very brave man or woman. But I'd like to thank you to watch it all the way through the end. I really appreciate it. So I'll see you guys again next week.